We're back, and here's got to check episode 19 of Beyond the Battlefield. A long bit, excuse me. But those who have subscribed, thank you very much. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. It helps to push this channel out to the wider community beyond the battlefield, giving veterans a platform to talk and tell their stories of adversity. Not just veterans, we're about to find out this young man here. But please subscribe, please like, please share, please tell your friends. Episode 19, it's Aaron Clark. You said to me in your message, and I like this, it was a big message, and I found the bit that says, nothing is worth your health. And that's come from a man who I understand, we're about to find out, lost his health due to following a dream, a passion, building a business, helping others. All of a sudden, the wheels come off. Welcome.
Thanks, mate. Good to see it.
Thank you very much for coming over, mate. I appreciate it. So tell us a little bit about mental health muscle, because that's where this is based around, right?
Yeah. So mental health muscle was a very simple concept, a very simple idea that I had with a friend in 2015, 16. I got to the point in my life where I was quite clear that fitness and my mental well-being were a bit of a thing, a bit of a tag team relationship, right? And although I hadn't realized it for a long time, it was at that moment that I thought I need to do something here where I'm bringing in my love and passion for fitness and training and bodybuilding and, just running around like a blue-ass fly with looking after my mental health and kind of understanding why I felt the way I felt and what the gym and what bodybuilding did for me in terms of like shutting off from the world. So I had this crazy idea. I thought, let's get 10 lads into the gym at Winners in Newton Abbot. Really supported by the staff there. Dean Turner, the manager at the time. I said to Dean, would I be able to put on a little bit of a mental health event just to bring people together, train, get on some machines, support each other, and hopefully start talking about mental health. Anyway, 10 people who I thought would turn up turned into about 130 on the day. Kids, parents, older generation, lads in there, ladies in there that are trained that had never ever mentioned their mental well-being before. All of a sudden in this room in Winners training, it was incredible. We did a little bit of a competition. We had some stalls in there. We had some promotion of good mental health, and it was just a really awesome day. And I got to the end of that event and I thought, bloody hell, this is something. Like, this needs to be something. What I just thought would be a good one-off event, a flagship event, very quickly grew into something much larger than that. And I thought there needs to be this, but everywhere as often as possible, because there's obviously a contingent of people in the world, in the community, that really need this, who aren't talking about their mental health, who aren't talking about their struggles and their challenges, particularly the lads, particularly the blokes in that room. And there was a lot of them that turned up on the day. I need to do something more with this. What is that? I've got absolutely no idea. I had no idea how to run a not-for-profit, charitable type organization. I had no idea where to go. I just let it run, really. And so I kind of became ultra invested, ultra quick to this thing that I thought would be really cool. I didn't know where it would go, but I did it. And, within the space of 6 months, 12 months, we were 25, 30,000 followers on Instagram, selling merchandise, doing events all over the UK, me going off here and everywhere to do guest speaker. And it was just crazy. We had a team of volunteers repping in regions all across the UK, running meet and eat events and speaking to gyms and liaising with gyms, and the funding and everything that we got in, we put through memberships for people. So we pay for full-time memberships for people who were struggling. I think inevitably at the end of the whole thing, there are 59 people that we put into full-time memberships across the UK to support them with their mental health. That was mental health muscle. In short.
Wow. Yeah. And I know Withers very well. I know Torquay Branch actually worked in there a long time ago, and I trained out of New Lab at Paynton. So I do know it. Yeah, I know Dean. The irony is, of course, what that led to in terms of your mental health stuff. Tell us a snippet, where we ended, and we're going to come back and work way back to it.
Yeah, so where we ended was ultra burnout, complete mental fatigue, complete physical fatigue, and this huge kind of dichotomy between where I was physically and where I was mentally. But actually the physical masked where I was mentally until the very end. It grew much larger and much quicker and much crazier than I ever imagined it. And because I didn't have the nous, the business nous, in essence, that's what it was, right? A business. I had no idea how to control it. I was reluctant to delegate, as I was talking to you outside, and I was reluctant to give it away or give it to someone to take on that responsibility. And in essence, when it comes to social media, I was the face. I was the human being behind the logo. A lot of people didn't know that. Why would they know that? This is an organization. It's a thing that's doing great stuff. But they didn't realize that the logo and the business was an actual human being. And I was on the daily, hourly, getting suicide notes, people diving in deep to their life who I'd never spoken to before, seeking help, reaching out for help, crying for help. And I dealt with it, and I was a very yes person at the time. So it was a yes, 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 I'll help you. I'll put you in touch. I'll refer you. I was doing all this whilst working 40 hours a week in a full-time job with a newborn on the way in forwards time, a new wife. And I just got to the point after that 5-year period where I just imploded, basically. And I was left in a position where I honestly didn't know what to do. And actually the only thing to do was to bring the organization to a close, because I was just at a point where I couldn't manage it anymore. And because I didn't take any payment from the organization, because I thought it was a volunteer role, it was something I was doing good for the community, because I had no business now. So I didn't know what to do to be able to make it a business or anything like that. It was just a movement. It was just the thing was running, but on scales that I had no idea how to control. And by the end of it, I just thought, I can't do this anymore. Something's got to go. And unfortunately, it was the organization, which was a real shame, because I think looking back now, had I kept it going or been able to delegate properly and given the reins to someone or a team of people to do those things, I had no doubt it could have been an international, as big as any mental health charity you've ever seen, because of the growth and the stuff that we were doing. But it is unfortunate. But I had to look after me. And like I said, there's nothing more important than your own health. And eventually it was the blind leading the blind, and that's no good to anybody.
And it took for the wheels to come off 100%.
So yeah, I fell into deep depression. I was making poor decisions. I was losing complete disconnect from my wife. I missed 6 months of my baby's life. Didn't really know my child for 6 months because I was on the road, going here, going there, answering yes, yes, yes to all of these different things, going to events that really had absolute, bearing on whether mental health muscle did well or not. But I went because I was invited and I felt obliged to go, and I missed everything. And I nearly lost everything. The only thing I didn't lose was my job, luckily, and I, again, able to master that really well at the time. But yeah, it was really hard. Friendships that I made in that time turned out really not to be friendships, but situational ships, because it was onto a good thing. People were my friend at the time. And then when I fell off the wagon, who was there to help me? 0 people, hardly anybody. I had to count people on my hand that checked in with Aaron and said, "How you doing, dude? Like, what's going on? Why has all this happened?" So it was hard. It was almost like a grief, like a bereavement when I stopped the organization. And the messages from people like, "You've saved my life. This organization's everything. Why that guilt that I had to protect me. I really had to protect me." And it got so bad that I just thought, I just can't do this anymore. Even now, it's hard to think about that moment, because it was so tough. Because I knew it was doing such amazing things, influencing and impacting hundreds and thousands of people on a day-to-day basis, purely based on a connection of fitness and mental health. Like, it's mad. I had James Smith PT wearing our t-shirt in Australia. Like, it was crazy. Some of the world's strongest men wearing mental health muscle t-shirts. Like, it was insane. I couldn't manage it. I just couldn't manage that anymore. I didn't know how to.
Miss it.
Every day. Every day. Do I miss how I felt? No. But do I miss the organization and what we're doing? Yes. Why? Because I'm a hugely passionate person, and I believe in doing good, and I believe that's why I was born on this planet, to do good and give back. Like, I was doing that. We were doing that collectively, not just me as the founder, not just my volunteers, not just the people that turned up to events, but the community. We're doing good stuff. But that key part of it was that I wasn't doing good. And if I disappear, the organization can't continue. And it could have done, of course it could, but at the time I didn't feel like it could. Because I didn't really know who to turn to. Didn't have that business now, so didn't have the expertise. I was just a young man trying to do good in the world, and that was happening. But what happens now? I've done good. I'm doing good. But how do I move from doing good and keeping it and being okay myself? I really don't know. I didn't know. So it was like let's just get rich. And that was my other response.
Hey, it's, think about all the other business owners and whatnot that are driving hard. And listen, I speak to these people all the time because, of course, they're candidates to come onto my program. And they're always waiting for the right time. Yeah, waiting for the right time. And I say, what is the right time? Come on. I spoke on podcasts earlier today about life is busy. We're all busy. I'm busy. Kids, elderly mother, etc. Story I was telling you outside. There's never a break. So when it comes to looking after your health, you have to act now. Hence what I did. Hence what you did. The messages that we talk about. There's never a right time. How many times have I got to say that? There's never a right time. You have to put things in place now to look after your health before the wheels come up. Well, as you said, it takes you to lose your health to then suddenly realize, oh shit, I need this. You won't get a second chance.
No.
Lead us back, your old man, or
Yeah, so all my father and forefathers, all military, all line of work. So my dad was RAF 14 Squadron. My granddad was station warrant officer across various different bases in the UK and Mombasa in Kenya. So yeah, spread out all over the place. But Atlanta had of pardon. I did fancy it, and not purely based on your credentials and your history, but I certainly considered being a Marine at a very early age. It was kind of a bit of a dream, a bit of something I wanted to do. I felt like I was very fitted to the life of being a hardcore soldier and doing all of that sort of stuff.
you don't miss anything.
Well,
A break ship.
but I'll never know. And I think, when I speak to Marines, I speak to colleagues that have been in the services and certainly served in the Royal Marines, I think to myself, God, I'd love to have done that. But then there's also a number of stories as well, where I think, Michael,
This gave me a hoof and logo, that's all. Really. That's all I know, and a very bad ankle and bad hip. But no, it's but so what did you, rather than leading into the services, what did you do then?
yeah, so I went into supporting people. So pretty much I went to boarding school. I was obviously military, so as a typical military child, I was supportive in schools. Went to a private school up in York, Queen Ethelburgers College, spent 7 years there, loved every minute of it. It was the first time in my life where I felt like I had a little bit of independence and stability and all the things that you crave as a military child that you maybe don't get, moving around base to base, following dad on all of his different detachments, etc. and postings. Don't get me wrong, I loved that childhood, moving around in Germany and Lossie and Wales and Cyprus, and all of that was amazing, don't get me wrong. But the stability is really important, isn't it, when you get to that kind of secondary age school level. And so, yeah, boarding school. And then after boarding school, I went to university, had a bit of a gap year, traveled the world a little bit. Was a painter and decorator for 9 months. So
Kind of, what did you study?
studied at university sports science. So as a typical sports scholar at boarding school, I was pretty good at everything, rugby captain, etc., etc. I spent 4 years at Leeds Tykes, the Lead Players Development Academy. So I was into my rugby union really heavily then, which was great. Didn't quite enjoy that towards the end, and it wasn't for me. But yeah, I was always involved in sports. So sport was the inevitable kind of next part of life. So I went into doing sports science at uni. And then when I came out of uni, I started a master's degree in performance analysis at Chester University. And 3 months in, I bolted it and just stopped because I thought this always biomechanics, angles of motion and points of insertion and all sorts of stuff. For me, this isn't what I want to do. What I want to do is support people. And so I went very quickly into supporting young people at a school with autism and ADHD, different kind of mental conditions. So that was kind of my grounding, my routine to supporting people who are perhaps vulnerable or from a hard to reach community or those more difficult people to engage. From there, I went into working at the Prince's Trust and I covered West Yorkshire as an area manager, supporting young people, 16 to 25-year-old who were homeless, young offenders, domestic violence, alcohol, drugs, all that sort of stuff. So I was putting them into full-time employment or training or finding them homes and all sorts of stuff, building their kind of life again. And that was amazing. And I took a lot from that. And I thought, my God, I'm good at this. Like, I was always the person that everybody else in my professional network would say, we can't work with them. They're really tough. Give them to Aaron. Aaron will sort out. And inevitably I did. So I thought, I've got a bit of a niche. I've got a bit of a thing here. I've got a bit of a star quality. I had no idea I had star quality, but I was doing it. I was doing a good job. And then from there, I went into community development. So managing again, antisocial behavior, social communities, and bringing communities together. So you can see the recurring theme here. It's about community, vulnerable people, people who are struggling. Bring those three things together. There's an underlying issue there around mental health and well-being. And so all of a sudden, I'm kind of like, this is it. This is where I need to be. And so that was that kind of pathway.
Where does the need to help people come from?
It's a really good question, Ollie, and I've been asked it a number of times, and I don't know. I would like to think I'm a good person. I make mistakes. I've made decisions that haven't worked out. I've done things that perhaps could have been done better. I think we all do that, and a part of that is learning and developing and being a better person, right? But I always have this aspiration to want to help someone, and I've always been someone that feels like he can positively influence someone, regardless of what they're going through, regardless of their situation, whoever they are, stranger or best friend. I always thought I was the person that can make a difference. And I think if you believe that enough, it becomes a reality. And so I kept working with these people and supporting people and sending out that kind of life jacket. And it was working, and I was doing good stuff, and I was seeing people that I knew, people that I didn't know, turning their lives around. And I thought, this is what I was meant to do. Why? I don't know, but I love seeing people improve and develop. I get a real sense of energy out of that, and that reflects in the stuff I do now as a coach, as a mentor, as a trainer, as a keynote speaker, an inspirational speaker. All of that I do. It's about giving back.
There is something about like the buzz I get, the hit I get, the feeling I get, from helping someone to get a result, a life-changing result, or a small result. Used to row competitively, used to sell competitively, but I don't do that anymore. How can I get my wins? I get my wins from helping people. Because I asked you that question because I sometimes I always help people, prison officer, custody officer, doing things, coaching people, strength and conditioning coach, PTR, whatever. Or it's always like, it's actually helping people. My first exposure to helping people was in the custody service. I just joined, saw the job, that's cool. Get on the inside, see what's going on in prisons and that. But actually, I soon realised it wasn't about locking people up and wrestling people and being a knobhead. It was about helping people. So helping vulnerable people, drug addicts, criminals, or criminals. But there's the story behind everything. And it was about helping people, and then that led into my military career with coaching. But like you said, it's that feeling that we get from get results.
I'm like a rechargeable battery, and actually, I've been described as a Duracell battery for most of my career, full of energy. Aaron, you'll just speak for anyone forever. You'll go on, and that's absolutely right. But eventually, my battery dies, and then my battery is recharged by knowing that I've supported someone. And I get that kind of fluid, like fuel from knowing that I've done good somewhere. And if I can multiply that by 10 on a day-to-day basis, I know that my battery is always fully charged.
Are you looking after yourself though?
Yeah.
Or just spoken?
Yeah. Now I'm in a really good place. Lots of learned lessons, lots of things that I reflect back on. I think, that's really been a key point in my life where I've learned something from that, and now I do things very differently. I was really unable previously, particularly around the time of mental health muscle, where I was unable to prioritize. I didn't really know what my priorities were. And inevitably, I didn't really have to sit down and make a list of priorities. It was just that MHM fell at the top all the time, when really my priority should have been me, should have been my wife, should have been my baby, should have been my life. Whereas all of that came secondary. And so for me, that kind of lesson of being able to prioritize, decompartmentalize as well, then put things in boxes. Not everything is in the same box. I think towards the end of it all, everything just fell in the same box, and that's why it got so overwhelming. I was dealing with so many things. And don't get me wrong, I love have plates spinning. I love to be doing more than one thing. I've always got half a dozen things on the go at once, but they're in my control. And I think that's the key word here. I never really knew how to control things. And I wanted to control things that I knew I couldn't, but I had to. Whereas now I'm much better at being able to analyze what I can control and forget about the things that I can't control. So control the controllable.
I've told the words out my mouth. The important thing is learning as a coach as well, isn't it? And as I say, we've been running this business, brands have been over a year now, the project's been over 2 years, and every day you learn more. I was speaking to someone earlier, when I'm coaching someone, I'm always thinking in my head, am I doing that? Am I a bit of a hypocrite here?
Yeah.
And it's about looking after yourself. Always put your own life jacket on first so you can help other people. I say that to fathers that are running businesses. You're useless to everyone and anyone unless you can look after yourself. So put your own life jacket on first.
Yeah.
It comes back to health and whatnot. Did your wife who married you say, did she identify that you were struggling?
Did she identify I was struggling? I think she did. Yeah, she definitely did. I think she did. She definitely did. And it was a conversation that we had a number of times, but I was so hell-bent on making mental health muscle work that I kind of neglected how people were telling me things might be to me. And I was so overwhelmed and swarmed in this kind of physical Aaron that was showing no signs of weakness, no signs of vulnerability, no signs of struggle, with this kind of mental side that I knew was struggling, but I was determined to forget about that because I knew this was important, that this was making the impact. And so, yes, we did have those conversations. And those conversations then turned at times into, I can't do this anymore. Like, we can't do this anymore. What? Oh, you're going away again this weekend? Or you're away at another event? Oh, where's the time for me and the baby? Like, where's that time? I was like, I'll make time. And then, I kept saying I'll make time, or it's okay, I'm only away for a day or two, or so we were the not-for-profit organization at Body Power in 2019. Amazing. But it was a whole 4 days away from Catherine and the baby. I just
Does the baby got a name?
yes, yeah, absolutely, yeah. Ava was at the time. I've got 2 more since then, but yeah, Ava. And for me that was kind of like I'm doing a good thing here. Go to Body Power. Wow, like we've got a stand at Body Power free of charge because we're doing stuff for mental health and well-being. This is amazing. Everybody coming in, and we had people on the stand who, some of the biggest fitness figures you can imagine. Back then, there's a lot more in society now, but back there with Carl Daunton, my goodness, we had so many big players all coming along and putting a t-shirt on and recommend, it was amazing. And that completely bedazzled me. And the prospect that I was leaving my family at home, not being with them, I just didn't see as so what? So it's only 4 days. What's the problem? When you're doing that every other weekend for 6 months, 9 months of, and working full time, balancing a job and a new marriage and a baby. Yeah.
There has to be a balance. So there's important money. There has to be a balance. For me, building the business, I work a lot of hours. I'd have to. It's what I'm doing. It's what I love. But it's taking conversations with other coaches, some that you will be on this podcast in the coming episodes, who said to me not so long ago, I was in this conversation with him, a bit older than me, doing what I did, build the business up, put everything into the business as his children were growing up. And he said to me, the line was, he said, one day, he said, you look out the window and you'll see them just walking out the gate. And what he was referring to is all of a sudden you'll blink and that baby has become a teenager and then an adult, and you just blinked and you missed their entire life because you've just been so hell-bound on what you're doing. Now I get, want to build a business and build some money, make some money, have changed, transform lives, and do all the good stuff that we're doing.
Yeah.
But at what fucking cost? Exactly right. The cost to your mental health that you spoke about. But like I still get it wrong. I still pick my little girl up from school. There's a certain day in the week I'm supposed to pick her up, and then that's me. I'll say, right, I don't need to go back in the office into this room and work. What do? I find myself, I've just got to sell that. Yeah, I have to kick myself and remember that conversation with this guy and go, it can wait because your little girl, she'll be going out the gate soon, gone.
I can't relate to that more.
I got really emotional, and he did when he was telling me this, and I was just like,
It's so true.
so the message is for people that are building businesses, working hard. I know you'll make money. I mean, no, don't drive forward, but you have to go. This is what we do with Worry Wellness Movement. We help people in so many more ways than just going to the gym and just eating some good food. It's holistic health. It's about relationships. It's about work-life balance. The people that go having more time. This is what we do in the coaching environment. It's what you do. It's the conversations we have with people. And best of all, I've just told you a story that relates to me, and I get it wrong. And I still get it wrong. So it's hard. I get it. Life is busy. But the message is to say to people, you have to act now because your health will go, the kids will grow out, and all of a sudden I go, mate,
Absolutely right.
what's happened there?
Yeah, absolutely right. And I'm a great believer in the one thing that never leaves you is your family and your health. Businesses come and go, and we work hard for them, and we drive forward and we press, and we try to make a success of things. Of course we do. And I think if you're built the way to never give up on something, that makes that even more complex. I'm a very determined individual. I'm a very passionate individual, and there's not a lot that stops me apart from those two things: my family and my own health. And I think uh, that was one of those moments where both of those things became a problem. And so you think, my God, I can't do this anymore. Well, there has to be a balance. There has to be a fine dynamic between the two. And I'm all for people driving forward with business and being successful. I love that. Love all that entrepreneurship stuff. I love it. Absolutely love it. I thrive on it. That's why I do more than one thing, and I've got plates spinning out my ass. But there is a point where none of that, regardless of your salary or the things you're doing for other people, overrides yourself. And that for me is the bread and butter.
The climb back. This is you get a good narrative on here.
Yeah.
Wheels will come off. How do you get back? How do you bring it all back?
Yeah, so I very quickly engaged with some therapy because actually I was in a place where I needed a bit of a neutral base, a neutral person, an outside perspective to kind of tell me where I was and why maybe I was feeling the way that I was feeling and why things were the way they were. So I had 8 weeks therapy, or a session a week. A wonderful lady, can't remember her name now, Jane, I think her name was, taught therapy in Newton in Abbott. It was just very holistic talking therapy. Something that I thought, my God, this ain't gonna work. I've talked to people every day about how I'm feeling, but it was that having someone who could dive into my soul without knowing me too much, and that was really powerful. And a lot of the kind of conversations were very much stemmed along some trauma that I didn't even know existed. I didn't even know I had it. And actually, inevitably, we don't always know what our trauma is until something happens and then we recognize a problem. So I was kind of taken back to this childhood whereby a military child, high expectation as the oldest boy, as the son of the family, to look after mum and my little brother when dad went away. And dad went away more often than any child would like any father to leave, right? So I was living that life of look after your mum, mate, see you soon, not really knowing when dad comes back again. And this expectation and this kind of thing that meant I had to be in charge and look after people and show no weakness. It's okay, dad will come back. And for years and years living like that. There was nothing from dad or instruction from dad to say, look after your mum. It was the way I felt about the situation when dad went away. And so a lot of my trauma, a lot of my kind of imposter syndrome, if you like, in the ability to not want to fail and giving everything and be the best version of myself in everything I do, blood, tooth, nail, like being the best I can be, protective, supporting other people, looking after other people, feeling responsible for other people, had kind of magnified, if you like, throughout my career when I had no idea why that was. So you asked me earlier, where's that thing from supporting people come from? Perhaps it's that.
We've had the turning point. The climb back is going back. I was talking about, and again, sometimes you don't appreciate what you've got until you lose it. We spoke about the kids will just grow up and you can't just keep pushing and pushing and pushing. Where did your missus sit in this in terms of what, you started climbing back? She's going to be going, right, I've got Aaron back.
Yeah. I think it took a little while just to feel like Aaron is coming back, because even though you've made a decision and you feel like there's a positive turning point, because positive, it was hard. I was in the pit, I was in the darkness, like it was really tough. I was dealing with a number of different emotions, not just based on my own decision making, but also that of, the feelings that I was getting from having those friendships, which I thought were really solid and trustworthy and reliable, disappear literally overnight. Not being engaged with the thing that you were engaged with all the time on a day-to-day basis, just losing that. Like I say, I described it as kind of losing a loved one. Like I've never lost a loved one, particularly very fortunate in that respect. And so I feel like that's what it will feel like when you lose something that's so important to you and you love and you adore. And so I think it took a little while for Catherine to kind of get to the point where she saw me coming back. And I think inevitably in anybody's recovery, if you call it that, there's always the little dips as well. Recovery is never just this kind of linear upwards. You do some good things and then you take a little step back, or you take a little dent, and I had a few of those kind of, trying to navigate through how I was feeling and what the situation now was. And that's obviously very different to previous, dealing with some of the kind of decisions that I'd made and how they were impacting not just me, but the people that were left and the legacy, if you like, that was still ongoing. I kept tapping back into the mental health muscle page with little posts and stories, checking in on people for no reason whatsoever other than me wanting to feel like I was still connected to it.
Bit of an addiction there.
100% addiction. And you're not wrong, I don't think, when you say that, because there was definitely this kind of withdrawal thing going on. Like, I lived and breathed that organization, and all of a sudden it just wasn't a thing, just wasn't an organization.
And you have just gone from going, right, I'm stopping that, and then boom, you act.
Yeah.
How long is this process? Well, was it to where you consider yourself, think back, where was the point where you were like, I'm good, I'm back?
2-3 years.
2 or 3 years, yes.
2-3 years to get back to the point where I was able to start up some sort of similarities with mental health muscle was. So I went into delivering mental health workshops after about 2 years. I'd done that on a regular basis with MHM and, gyms all over the country.
What did my wife say?
I think there was an element of being pleased that I was getting back to the thing that I loved, but also the hesitation that perhaps that might drift me off back into that place where I perhaps was before. I was given the name the mental health muscle guy, and that became a bit of a thing for a little while. So people that I had contact with when I was running the organization got back in touch and said, we'd love you to come down as Aaron and talk about, So I used that kind of whole thing then as a bit of content and a story to tell. Hence why I then found myself getting into a lot of guest speaking, and I did a lot of podcasts and a lot of keynote talks at events and guest speaker slots. And I used that whole story about kind of, success and how we love to use our dreams as a way of being good at something. And then when it all falls apart, and I've kind of used that narrative as a way of navigating. So that kind of is very kind of me. That's very me. A lot of people know Aaron as that kind of man that went through that journey. And that's really powerful because I know now I can use that. And so many people that I've spoken to on these things, or people that have reached out on the socials, that was me. Thanks for sharing your story. I can relate to that. That was me. And I went through that same sort of thing. So yeah, that's kind of
because the story there is so relatable to so many. I'm listening to this and going, I've got to make sure I never get into that situation. I work hard, I push hard, and I've like I said, the 2 years of doing this has been ups and downs, highs and lows. That's fucking hard, yeah. But I've not been at that point. I've not been at a point where you said you were, and I've managed to identify. I gave you a few examples earlier. I've managed to identify almost like warning signs, like warning, yeah. And then I managed to back off. And I had people say things to me, and podcasts. I listen to guests and go, right, noted. Yeah, am I coaching people? I say things to them. Are you doing this? Am I preaching practice what I preach? So it's very complex. And what's incredible, something so positive has been so destructive. Yeah. That's mad.
Yeah. And doesn't that just absolutely screw up your head?
Yeah.
When you think about it, the one amazing thing that was changing lives ultimately put me in a position where I questioned my own. That is mad. That is nuts. Complete lack of or loss of identity, complete loss of purpose, complete loss of self-worth, complete loss of belonging, all of those things that we crave and require to be the best versions of ourselves, right? All gone based on the end product of something that started out as one of the most wonderful, creative, didn't require any effort. It didn't require effort. I didn't have to, at the beginning, I thought I didn't need to put effort in because it was just being like engaged with. It was being connected with by so many people. Followers, messages, emails, requests. It went mad. The biggest bodybuilding companies and shows and expos in the country all wanting to have us on a stand to support athletes when they came off stage. Like, you can imagine in my head, like, how do I deal with this?
but we're still doing a good thing, so I'll do it. That's cool. This sounds good. Yeah, crazy. I just have no. It's hard for me actually to remember the whole process because of so many parts of it that now I simply can't remember because it was just chaos. Positive chaos to the outside world, but to me, chaos. You know, my God, how do I manage this? But I will manage it because the physical up here is leading this fine.
I think you might have covered it, but what's the trigger point where you just literally woken up one day and just gone, fuck?
Yeah, a number of things, not just one thing. Because remember, before I realized, I thought everything was rosy, and I was just on this physical, doing good, yes, make it a difference type ride. It was a number of things. A few of my volunteers at the time had expressed concerns around some of the decisions that I was making. A few of the people that were attending the events on a regular basis were getting a bit over familiar. And I got to the point where I had to professionally set a boundary.
What do you mean?
So over familiar, like, messaging all the time, over interacting, feeling left out or upset if I went with a different person to run an event, rather, the list goes on. So you become trusting of someone, you build that relationship, there's a connectivity there between mental health and fitness, and you kind of build this place where everybody just thinks that everybody's best friend. And I was friends with these people, of course. I wanted to help them and everything, but I had to stay. This was one of the good things that I did, but I had to put boundaries in place. And when that started happening, I got quite a lot of, not quite a lot, but a few people saying, well, that's not good. That's not fair on me, or well, I'm looking after everybody here, not just one person. And I was very politely but blunt with people when the messages became a bit too much. I was like, you need to speak to someone who can provide a clinical support service for you. Mental health is not a clinical support service. We're not a therapy team. We're not any of that. What we are is a movement. We are a community of people that all share the same values and interests. And that was always the goal. So when I started getting requests from people who had kind of become over familiar for therapy and support and meeting privately at weekend, I couldn't do that. So I have to say no. And the no's were not always received very well. A few of our volunteers fell back into a dark place, and me managing people in a dark place got complicated. And I had to kind of keep my business hat on, but also my friendly Aaron hat on as well. And so that got a little bit muddled and a little bit confusing.
What do you mean your volunteers struggling like you were struggling?
Yeah, so because inevitably a lot of my volunteers were people with lived experience, who had felt like they were in a place to give something back and support the organization, or indeed people that were struggling but had the capacity to be able to help. Now, in hindsight, I'd never have brought on volunteers now in my expertise level now. I'd never brought on volunteers right now. If I had mental health muscle today and I was looking for volunteers, my prerequisite would be lived experience but recovered. Whereas my kind of requirements back then was, if you're struggling, I'd love to hear from you. If you want to represent mental health muscle, I'd love to hear. That was bad management. But at the time, it felt right because you're giving these people something to hold on to. You're giving them a purpose, a belonging. You're improving their own well-being. But then when they crash, what do? You got to manage these people. And that's really tough. And then I had to start managing these people in the same time that I knew I was struggling. So this is where that blind leading the blind comes in. And so your automatic human response to people reaching out for help when you're not in a good place is, I can't help you. And that was it in essence. I can't help you. Go speak to these people. I refer you here. I've sent a referral here. I've signposted you here. Oh, but Aaron, I can't do this. And so there's that kind of road that starts developing of ending up somewhere where perhaps nobody needs to be.
Do you remember the day that you when
died? 19th of November. Time. The post went out on the 21st of November on Instagram.
What did you write?
It's on Instagram. Yeah. I'd said for unforeseen circumstances and sadly the organisation has to come to a close. No mention of me in there, no mention of any volunteers, no mention of anything, just very business. The organization unfortunately needs to come to a close. We're devastated about that, and I hope that our legacy will live on, etc. We donated the money that we had left in our funds to 3 mental health charities. We sent loads of money over to Mind, over to B for eating disorders, and one to a local charity in Keene Staten called King's Care, who I then, 2 years later, set up a football team in the local community in aid of for Carl Deacon, who took his own life in 2018. So yeah, I made something of it, but yeah, that's what it was really. It was if you need help support services, please check out these organizations. They're your immediate point of contact. I had a website, Ollie, with resources and signposting information, one-to-one coaching from I had everything. For a lot of people, mental health muscle was the savior, and then it's gone. So imagine being connected to something and then being told overnight, literally, that thing that you relied on or connected with or found sanctuary in, it's gone.
We're talking about tens of thousands of people.
Tens of thousands of people. Now, tens of thousands of people directly impacted? Perhaps not. But thousands of people? Absolutely. You know, you've got nearly 50,000 followers on an Instagram account. 10,000 of them are messaging regularly. And that's no joke of a lie. Like my messages, I could not answer all my messages ever. I've never, ever finished answering any of the messages.
What was you doing at Workwise?
Worldwide Community Development Manager in East Devon. So managing vulnerable communities in Exmouth and Sidmouth and Ottery St Mary, Holliston.
Did that job suffer?
No. Why? Because I had a really good ability to put on a mask.
Yeah.
Deep down, mate, I was broke.
Yeah.
Absolute broke. Devastated. Devastated that I'd have to close the one thing that I really thought could replace all of my employment, all of my everything, and be this kind of, in essence, the new Mind. You know, because that's how it was going. But not with me in the leadership. Not with me leading it, because I was in the place to do it.
So everything you've learned, everything you know,
Yeah.
and everything you preach, and the mistakes you've made,
Yeah.
and the highs you've achieved, and the lives you've changed, would you do again? You must have known I was going to ask that.
Yeah. Yeah, and I hate the question. Because my heart would say yeah every day. But my head would tell me absolutely no chance.
I thought you were going to give it a flat no. That's interesting.
Yeah. Why does a part of me say yes? Because I am that person that wants to make a difference. I've got other things in my life now where I'm able to make a difference, particularly in the veteran world, in the military space, you know, coaching, mentoring, supporting the young people's charity in UNABET, Life Chance Trust. I do a number of things where I'm able to give back and fulfill that gap. But my head tells me no, and actually I have to learn to listen to my head. And I have 3 beautiful children and a wonderful wife and a lovely family home, and all of that is never, ever going to be worth risking for doing something like MHM again. But my heart always says, you know what, maybe. And for a long time, actually, I always thought about bringing it back. But I got to the point where I thought and felt strongly, it's gone. It's gone. That thing is gone. That moment's gone. Will it be the same again? Will it get the same up? You know, all of that. And I thought, I'm not prepared to go through all those emotions again. Because I don't know how it will go. I don't know how it will go.
But you're a stronger person now.
Oh, like 10 times.
Hey, but we're speaking about learning from your mistakes, learning from others. I told you when I run this program now, I learn from listening to Will Hattie, going to a behavior therapist. I know more about nutrition than I'd ever know. Yeah, because we've got Hazel Davies, our nutritionist. I'm like, and you learn. And it's putting it into practice. I'm very quick to make decisions, spot like heart. Yeah, that'd be a good idea without actually thinking it through. Yeah, that's what we do. We'll read and cuff it up. We just do it. Yeah.
And I was like that. So that was me in my first 3/4 of life at Mental Health Muscle. I'm always impulsive. I'm an impulsive person. Yes, I'll do that. Great idea. Let's do it now. Action. Yeah. Yeah. So, and I think that's a military thing.
He's like, you got some workout. Like,
yeah, exactly right. What happens if it doesn't work out? It doesn't matter right now. We're going to give it a go. Yeah. We'll try it. See how it goes. It's going to be great. Don't worry. We'll deal with all the aftermath after. We'll deal with all the evaluating shit and reviewing it after. Let's do it. Let's make an impact. Let's do good.
And that was always the key driver.
Yeah.
And then eventually you think, oh God, like if I hadn't been so impulsive, maybe things wouldn't have gone perhaps the way they did. But, I wanted things to happen overnight all the time.
Yeah, but
Well, yeah. And I think that's in us, right? That's in us. We're driven people. We're passionate about what we do.
I can't understand why people can't work at breakneck speed like I do. Do it.
Yeah.
Do it.
Yeah.
That's
I hate red tape. I'm very lucky in the organization that I work in now at Safa. There's little of that in my area. But I know working for any organization, if you're not the man in charge or the person in charge, there's going to be red tape. Someone else needs to sign on that dotted line or give you the authority to do it. I hate it because I know that if I'm in charge, it's down to me. They're my decisions. They're my actions. We're going to do it. None of that riff-raff we're talking about what things might be like, and then in 6 months making a decision, you've lost 100 people to suicide by that time. We need to do this right now. We need to make impact right now. Let's get it done. And yeah, that's all a bit mate.
So the good that you're doing now, can we talk about that or not?
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
So Trooper,
Yeah,
World Body Wellness Movement has recently partnered up with Trooper.
yep.
Links will be below. Tell us about Trooper.
The Trooper is a one-stop shop digital marketplace whereby all signposting organizations, anybody supporting the armed forces community are able to tap into to look at what the opportunities are out there. When we talk about opportunities, we talk about things like mental health support, housing support, health and well-being, community, jobs and employability, social skills, community groups, you name it, discounts, whatever the case may be. If you are an organization or a person supporting the armed forces community, particularly if you've got some like Armed Covenant Trust badge and you've got grading and you're able to support, you'll find yourself probably on Trooper. My job at the time as the partnerships manager was to make sure that we had a network, a city, Trooper City, of organizations that believed in what we were doing, could benefit from our signposting resources, and equally us give something back and promote what you're doing. So anybody that comes onto Trooper, i.e. a service leaver, spouse or partner, certain person, military children, can come on and go, I'm looking for A, I live in B, I want C. A, B, and C is then all put together, and you're given a big directory of all the things that mark up with things you're looking for. That is true, bro.
That's a hell of a that was like, what shit off. I've done that before. Yeah, no, it's great. And like I said, we partnered up with Trooper now, which is fantastic. So go and check it out. We're going to put some links below. And Safa, you mentioned Safa. Yeah, and that's what you're doing now.
That's what I'm doing now. So that's what I've done for the last 2.5 years, nearly 3 years in August. So I am the South lead for the Learning and Development Department. So I deliver all the training, do all the presentations.
Tell us who Safa is.
Safa is the Armed Forces charity. Sailors, seamen, sailors, soldiers, and Air Force. And it's been around for a long, long time. And it's one of those organizations where if you're in the military, you know Safa.
Yeah.
If you're not in the military, you probably have no idea what it is. Wonderful organization, doing really cool stuff. And I lead on all the training down in the south. So I cover all the way from Cornwall right across through to London, over to Plan to Kent, up to Birmingham. That's my patch.
And what sort of stuff are you doing?
So delivering training and education workshops. So we go to branches and deliver stuff to volunteers. So the casework services, mentoring. So I lead on the mentoring program with the mentoring services manager. Huge passion of mine. I'm very grateful to do that. Obviously, my expertise and information that I've learned over the years is very useful in terms of running that program with the manager there. She's amazing, great stuff. So that's a mentor being put in with a mentee. They've left the services within that 6 month to 2 year bracket. They can pick up by Safa and then get that support to kind of migrate them and transition them into Civvy Street. And as you know, as a service leaver, that transition isn't not always that easy, particularly if you come out the forces and you're kind of very institutionalized to find yourself in this really weird, strange place where everything is important and you have no idea where to go for it. Hence Trooper fits well into that little kind of box as well. And so, yeah, I run all the provisions. So no surprise, I like to stand up in front of people and present and inspire and empower and educate. And that's kind of that learning that I did before, I guess, now into this role at Safa, and I love it. Sweet.
It's incredible, mate. I love the passion. I love listening to you talk. Thank you. Let's wrap it up with your message again. We have spoken about this. Doesn't have to be a sentence. But everything we've spoken about, everything we've covered, all the mental health aspects, the burnout, the passion, the pride, the followed all the things that you want to build a business, and what cost that comes to. What's the message we're saying to anyone listening?
It's a combined message. I think firstly, hope can always be found. And I think sometimes when we're in those dark places, we don't believe that it can. We don't know where to find it. And actually, sometimes it might be the case that someone else gives you that. But I'm a great believer in that it can be found. And for me, importantly, I know it can be found because I found it. It was hard work and it was hard graft, but I got there eventually with support of loved ones, family, friends, and good people like me came in and said, you know what, mate, I'll help you. And I think for me, it's just a case of, don't let your dreams and your passions become something that you want to avoid or something that inevitably destroys you. Because I let that happen, and actually the overwhelming kind of journey of supporting others meant that I was never supporting myself. And I think that balance is really, really important. It doesn't take away from people being successful. Like I've said in the past, I'm all for that. But there has to be a line where you go, okay, now what's about me? And I think if I could ask everybody to remember that and remind themselves of that little point there, what about me? I think we could do much better for ourselves.
Indeed, and as I say, always put your own life jacket on first. So you can't help anyone else get up. That is episode 90. Aaron, thank you so much for coming in. I heard people take value. I'm sure they will. I certainly did. And it's going to be a great listen. Lots of stuff will go out when this episode gets released. If you're watching this on YouTube, please subscribe to it. Please like it. Please share it. Please tell your friends. If you want to come and be a guest, get in touch with me. Anything that we do at Warrior Wellness Movement, everything at Beyond the Battlefield, all we spoke about with Trooper with Safford, with all the good stuff Aaron's doing. Links will be below. Anything else to add, mate?
No, just a big thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure meeting you and connecting with you, and I hope the relationship continues.
Top man, I should say thank you very much to Mr. Albert on the camera, for working his magic, even with our little differences we had in that episode. But go check out Express Media. They do all my videography, all my cool stuff. Mr. Carver is there, working hard. Yeah, team. A pleasure. Cheers, Aaron.
Thank you. Cheers, Lauren.